For a long time I had wanted to put together a small compilation for my children, with advice which I felt would be important for them now and in the future. Knowing that my own knowledge was extremely limited, I turned to the letter which Imam Ali had written to one of his sons. Imam Ali wrote the advice in this letter in the form of a will. Imam Ali's letter deals with a vast array of subjects of life, from bravery, chivalry, and human nature in general, to humanity, generosity, and God consciousness. The thread that runs throughout this entire letter is that of God consciousness. Though it is not the most sought after attribute in today's world, it is perhaps the most needed. People seem lost, searching for infinity in a finite world, and, forgetting the ultimate infinite being, lose themselves in temporary distractions. Bearing all this in mind, in this presentation, I have put together extracts from this long letter by Imam Ali, which I felt would be most relevant to my children and perhaps many others growing up in the 21st century. My own advice before I read from the selected extracts is, do not wander lost in the darkness when you have at your disposal the light that can guide you. So let's begin. Extracts from a letter from Imam Ali to one of his sons. Letter number 31 in Nahj al-Balagha, compiled by Sayyid Razi, translated by Sayyid Muhammad Askari Jafri. This advice is from a father who realizes the mortality of life, who is getting old, who has patiently borne reverses and calamities, who hates extravagant desires and has overcome them, and who is going shortly to pass from this world, to his son, who is young, who has the longing of leading the world to sober ways of thinking and better ways of life. Let it be known to you that decay of health, passing away of time, and nearness of death have made me realize that I should give more thought to my future and to my people, advise them more, and spend more time in equipping them mentally to face this world. I felt that my own sons and my near ones have as much right to utilize my experience and knowledge. My dear son, you are part of my body and soul, and whenever I look at you, I feel as if I am looking at myself. If any calamity happens to you, I feel as if it has befallen me. Your affairs are to me like my own affairs. Therefore I have committed this advice to paper. I want you to take care of it, to pay attention to it, and guard it well. I may remain longer in your life, or I may not, but I want this advice to remain with you. My first and foremost advice to you, my son, is to fear God, be his obedient servant, keep his thought always fresh in your mind, be attached to and carefully guard the rope which connects you with him. Accept good advice and freshen your mind with it. Subjugate your obstinate nature with the vision of death. Make it see the mortality of life and all that it holds dear. Force it to realize the actuality of misfortunes and adversities, the changes of circumstances and times, and compel it to study the histories of past people. Persuade it to see the ruined cities, the dilapidated palaces, and decaying signs and relics of fallen empires and past nations. Then meditate over the activities of those people, over what they have done when they were alive and in power, what they have achieved, from where they started their careers, where, when, and how they were brought to an end. Where are they now? What they have actually gained out of life, and what was their contribution to human welfare. If you carefully ponder over these problems, you will find that each one of those people has parted company with the others and with all that he cherished and loved, and he is now in a solitary abode, alone and unattended, and you will also be like him. Do not talk about things which you do not know. Do not speculate and pass judgment over subjects about which you are not in a position to form an opinion, and are not called upon to do so. Give up the way where there is a possibility of your going astray. When there is danger of you wandering in the wilderness of ignorance, and a possibility of losing sight of the goal which you want to attain, and of reaching the end aimed at, then it is better to give up the quest than to advance forward facing uncertain dangers and unforeseen risks. When you think of defending the cause of God, do not be afraid that people will laugh at you, censor your action, or slander you. Fearlessly and boldly help truth and justice. Bear patiently the sufferings and face bravely the obstacles which come in your way when you follow the truth and when you try to uphold it. Develop the habit of patience against sufferings, calamities, and adversities. Trust in God, and let your mind seek His protection in every calamity and suffering, because you will thus entrust yourself and your affairs to the best trustee and to the mightiest guardian. Reserve your prayers, your requests, your solicitations, your supplications, and your entreaties to Him and Him alone, because to grant, to give, to confer, and to bestow, as well as to withhold, to deprive, to refuse, and to debar, lies in His and only in His power. I have made use of early opportunities to educate and train you, before your mind loses its freshness, before it gets hardened or warped, before you start facing life unprepared for the encounter, and before you are forced to use your decisions and discretions without gaining advantages of accumulated traditions, collected knowledge, and the experiences of others. This advice and counsel that I give you will save you from the worry of acquiring knowledge, gathering experiences, and soliciting others for advice. My dear son, though the span of my age is not as large as that of some other people who have passed away before me, I took great care to study their lives. I pondered over their lives so deeply that I felt as if I have lived and worked with them from the early ages of history down to our times, and I know what did them good and what brought harm to them. I am concentrating within these pages, and for your good, the knowledge that I so gathered. Through this advice I have tried to bring home to you the value of honest living and high thinking, and the dangers of an immoral and sinful life. From the very beginning I took care to help you to develop a noble character and to prepare you for the life which you will have to lead, to treat you to grow up to be a young man with a noble character, an open and honest mind, and clear and precise knowledge of things around you. I have noted down in these lines the basic principles of nobility, piety, truth, and justice. You may feel them to be overbearing and harsh, but my desire is to arm you with this knowledge instead of leaving you unarmed to face the world. I want you to promise to yourself to follow my advice carefully. Remember, my son, the best of this advice of mine is that which tells you to fear God, to concentrate and to confine yourself to the performance of those duties which have been made incumbent upon you by Him, and to follow in the footsteps of your ancestors, and your pious and virtuous relations. Verily, they always carefully scan their thoughts and deeds, as you must also try to do. And they carefully thought over a subject before saying anything about it, or before doing a deed. If your mind refuses to accept my advice, and you persist, like them, in trying your own experiments, then you are at liberty to arrive at your conclusions, but only after carefully studying the subject, after acquiring the knowledge necessary for such decisions. You must not allow uncertainties and doubts poison your mind, and skepticism or irrational likes and dislikes affect your views. But remember that before you start thinking and deliberating over a problem, seek guidance of the Lord and beseech Him to give you a lead in the right direction. Avoid confusion in your ideas, and do not let disbelief take hold of your mind, because one will lead you towards agnosticism and the other towards errors and sins. When you are thus prepared to solve any problem, and you are sure that you possess a clear mind, a sincere and firm desire to reach the truth, to say the correct thing, and to do the correct deed, then carefully go through the advice that I am leaving for you. If your mind is not clear, and it is not as free from doubts and skepticism as you wish it to be, then you will be wandering in the wilderness of uncertainties and errors, like a camel suffering from night blindness. And under these circumstances, it is best for you to give up the quest, because with such limitations, none can ever reach the truth. My dear son, carefully and very carefully remember these sayings of mine, that the Lord who is master of death is also the master of life. The one who sends calamities towards you is the one who will bring you safely out of them. This world is working under laws ordained by Him, and it consists of causes and effects, calamities and reverses, pains and pleasures, and rewards and punishment. But this is not all that the picture depicts. There are things in it which are beyond our ken, things which we do not and cannot know, and things which cannot be foreseen and foretold. Under these circumstances, if you do not understand a thing, do not refuse to accept it. Remember that your lack of understanding is due to insufficiency of your knowledge. Remember that when you came into this world, your first appearance was that of an unlearned being. Then you gradually acquired knowledge, but there are several things which were beyond your knowledge, which perplexed and surprised you, and about which you did not understand why and how. Gradually you acquired knowledge about some of those subjects, and in future your knowledge and vision may further expand. Therefore, the best thing for you to do is to seek guidance of one who has created you, who maintains and nourishes you, who has given a balanced mind and a normally working body. Your prayers should be reserved for Him only. Your requests and solicitations should be alone to Him. You should be afraid of Him and of nobody else. Remember, my son, that God has not ordered you to do anything but that which is good, and which propagates and distributes goodness. And He has not interdicted you from anything but that which is bad, and which will bring about bad effects. The truth is that those people who have carefully studied the conditions of life and the world pass their days as if they know that they are travellers who have to leave a place which is famine-stricken, unhealthy and uncongenial, and they have to go towards lands which are fertile, healthy, congenial, and where there is abundant provision of all comforts and pleasures. They have eagerly taken up the journey, happy in the hope of future blessings and peace. They have willingly accepted the sufferings, troubles, and hazards of the way, parting of friends, scarcity of food and comfort during the pilgrimage, so that they may reach the journey's end, a happy place. They do not refuse to bear any discomfort, and do not grudge any expenditure on the way. In other words, giving out alms and charity and helping the poor and needy. On the contrary, the conditions of those people who are solely engrossed in this world and are sadly engulfed in its short-lived, quickly fading and vicious pleasures is like that of travellers who are staying in fertile and happy regions, and who have to undertake a journey, knowing fully well that the journey is going to end in inhospitable, arid, and unfertile lands. My dear son, so far as your conduct with other human beings is concerned, let yourself act as scales to help you judge. Do unto others as you wish others to do unto you. Whatever you like for yourself, like for others, and whatever you dislike to happen to you, spare others from such happenings. Do not oppress and tyrannize anybody, because you surely do not like to be oppressed and tyrannized. Be kind and sympathetic to others, as you certainly desire others to treat you kindly and sympathetically. Whatever habits you find objectionable and loathsome in others, abstain from developing these traits of character. If you are satisfied or feel happy in receiving a certain kind of treatment from others, you may behave with others in exactly the same way. Do not speak about them in a way that you do not like others to speak about you. Do not speak on a subject about which you know little or nothing, and if you at all want to speak on anything or about anyone of whom you are fully aware, then avoid scandal, libel, and aspersion, as you do not like yourself to be scandalized and libeled in the same manner. And whenever you receive guidance of the Lord to achieve the thing you desire, then do not become proud of your achievement, but be humble and submissive to Him, and realize that your success was due to His favor and mercy. Remember, my son, that before you is a long and arduous journey. The journey is not only very long and onerous, but the route is mostly through dismal and deserted regions, where you will be sadly in need of refreshing, renovating, and enlivening aids. You cannot dispense with such provisions as to keep you going and to maintain you till the end of your journey, the day of judgment. But remember that you do not overload yourself, because if this load is more than what you can conveniently bear, then your journey will be very painful and toilsome to you. If you find yourself such poor, needy, and destitute people who are willing to carry your load for you as far as the day of judgment, then consider this to be a boon. Engage them and pass your burden on to them. Thus relieve yourself from the heavy responsibility and liability of submitting an account on the day of reckoning of how you have made use of His favors. Thus you may arrive at the end of your journey light and fresh, have enough provision for you there, have as many weight carriers as you can, so that you may not miss them when you very badly need them. Remember that all you give out in charities and good deeds are like loans which will be paid back to you. Therefore, when you are wealthy and powerful, make use of your wealth and power in such a way that you get all that back on the day when you will be poor and helpless. Realize this truth, my son, that the Lord who owns and holds the treasures of the heaven and the earth has given you permission to ask and beg for them, and has promised to grant your prayers. He has told you to pray for his favors, that they may be granted, and to ask for his blessings, that they may be bestowed. He has not appointed guards to prevent your prayers reaching him. Nor is there any need for anybody to intercede before him on your behalf. If you go back upon your promises, if you break your vows, or start doing things that you have repented from, he will not immediately punish you, neither does he refuse you his favors and grants in haste. And if you repent once again, he neither taunts you nor betrays you, though you may fully deserve both. But he accepts your repentances and forgives you. He never grudges his forgiveness, nor refuses his mercy. On the contrary, he has decreed repentance as a virtue and a pious deed. The merciful Lord has ordered that every evil deed of yours will be counted as one, and good deed and pious action will be rewarded tenfold. He has left the door of repentance open. He hears you whenever you call him. He accepts your prayers whenever you pray to him. You beg of him to grant you your heart's desires. You lay before him the secrets of your heart. You tell him about all the calamities that have befallen you and misfortunes which face you, and beseech his help to overcome them. You invoke his help and support in difficulties and distress. You implore him to grant you long life and sound health. You pray to him for prosperity, and you request of him such favors and grants that none but he can bestow and award. Think over it, that by simply granting you the privilege of praying for his favors and mercies, he has handed over the keys of his treasures to you. Whenever you are in need, you pray, and he confers his favors and blessings. You may be awarded better favors than you requested. Sometimes your prayers are turned down, and this is also in your interest, because you often unknowingly ask for things which are really harmful to you. Thus the refusal to accede to your solicitations is a blessing in disguise for you. But very often, your requests, if they are not really harmful to you for this world or the life hereafter, may be delayed, but they are granted in quantities much more than you had asked for, bringing in more blessings in their wake than you could ever imagine. Be it known to you, my son, that you are created for the next world, and not for this one. Therefore, my dear son, always keep three things in mind: death, your deeds and actions, and the life hereafter. In this way, you will be always ready to face death, and it will not catch you unaware. My dear son, do not be carried away and do not be allured by the infatuations of worldly people, and do not be impressed by the sight of their acute struggle to possess and own this world. This world has also told you everything. It has disclosed to you that it is mortal. It has openly declared its weakness. Remember that these worldly people are ferocious beasts. They do not know what they are doing and where they are going. Scan their activities and study their ways of thinking, and you will find them confused and irrational. They appear like cattle wandering in a dreary desert. They take this world to be their God and nourisher. The world is playing with them, and they are playing with it. But the nights of enjoyments and pleasures will not last forever for anybody. The dawn of realities will break sooner or later. Be it known to you, my son, that you cannot have every wish of yours granted. You cannot expect to escape death, and you are passing through your days of life as others before you have done. Therefore, control your expectations, desires, and cravings. Be moderate in your demands. Earn your livelihood through scrupulously honest means. Be contented with what you get, honestly and honorably. Do not let your desires drive you madly, because there are many desires which will lead you towards disappointments and loss. Remember that every beggar will not always get what he begs for, and everyone who controls his desires, has self-respect, and does not beg for things, will not always remain unlucky or disappointed. So do not bring down your self-respect, because nothing in this world can compensate the loss of self-respect, nobleness of mind, and honor. Take care, my son. Be warned that you do not make yourself a slave of anybody. God has created you a free man. Do not sell away your freedom in return for anything. There is no actual gain and real value in benefits that you derive by selling your honor and self-respect, or by subjugating yourself to disgrace, insults, and indignities. Remember that the little which is given to you by God is going to be more useful and serviceable to you, and is more honorable and respectable than what is granted by man in copious and abundant quantities. And what can a man give you but part of that which God has granted him? The losses that you suffer on account of your silence can be easily compensated, but the losses which arise out of excessive and loose talk are difficult to requite. Do you not see that the best way of guarding water in a water bay is to close its mouth? Often you obtain warnings and advice from people who are not fit to warn and advise you, and often you will come across advisers who are not sincere. Wisdom is the name of the trait of remembering experiences and making use of them. The best experience is the one which gives the best warning and advice. Treat the members of your family with love and respect, because they act as the wings with which you fly, and as the hands which support and fight for you. They are the people towards whom you turn when in trouble and in need. My dear son, after having given this advice to you, I entrust you to the Lord. He will help, guide, and protect you in this world and the hereafter. I pray and beseech him to take you under his protection in both the worlds.